Welcome back. Time to talk now with Village Management Services CEO Siobhan Foster. Thanks again for joining us, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, my pleasure.
This is the time of year where kind of people start cleaning out and doing a lot of stuff, and all the Amazon boxes may have stacked up from all the deliveries from Christmas. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the services that we have here at in the village to kind of get rid of those boxes. And one of the big things is breaking down cardboard boxes, right? It seems simple enough.
That's correct. So cardboard and paper make up the largest segment of the waste stream, even though they're recyclable. So we ask our residents to please break the boxes down and place them in the recycling bins. This not only is environmentally friendly,
Right.
It makes room for your fellow neighbors who also have those boxes from the holiday season.
The more we break them down, the more room is going to be in the bin for everybody. And you know, I guess one of the challenges I would imagine in the village and with every community is that more and more people are getting those deliveries to their homes. So there are more and more boxes than there ever were before, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's just a great reminder with the holiday season just passing to please break down those boxes and make room for everybody.
Okay, terrific. Another one that we want to talk about is some bulky items. Maybe, again, the clean out, the New Year's clean out going on, and there are bulky items that people want to get rid of. What's the best way for residents to approach that?
The best way to do that is to take advantage of the weekly collection of bulky items that's offered by CR&R, the city's refuse hauler. Please place these items by your shared trash enclosure or on the curb where your personal trash carts go, either the night before, after 7 p.m., or certainly by 8 a.m. on collection day. Again, these are collected weekly. And then car parts, construction, and demolition debris and hazardous waste are not included as part of that collection. And anything that is too big to be loaded into a vehicle by 2 people will not be collected.
Okay. Now, I know one of the challenges that I've seen in some areas is that sometimes people just put a bulky item over by the bins or something like that and leave it there and expect, well, somebody will take care of that. That really actually kind of is a bad impact on the community, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so we don't want to do that. Want to make sure we're doing that and then contacting the CR&R if there's any questions about the best way to do that.
Yes,
right?
and I do want to note that from January to November of last year, 62% of all the bulky items placed out in this community were recycled.
Okay.
So that's another benefit of taking
Wow.
advantage of this weekly service.
Wow, that's terrific. So there's also that recycling. So now we're all kind of being very environmentally friendly and kind of looking ahead and making sure that we're taking care of it in the proper way in terms of disposal, right?
Yes.
How about hazardous waste in the household? That is a kind of a big deal, right? Some old chemicals and things like that, paints and things like that,
Sure.
that really need to be disposed properly, right? That's not something we throw in the trash bin.
Right, and we're fortunate in that the city has a contract with WM Curbside, and they come directly to your residence to collect those items for free. You simply need to make arrangements with WM Curbside, and they can be reached by the number on the screen, which is 800-449-7587. Residents may also drop off medication at local pharmacies, and you can visit med-project.org for more information on that. And lastly, residents can drop off their sharps, their used needles, at Laguna Woods City Hall for proper collection.
Okay, yeah. So there are a lot of needs in a community like this that maybe aren't as common in other communities in terms of retirement community with the meds, and especially like the sharps with the people who are diabetes medication or other kind of medications that are injectable. That's an important one because that can be, again, one of those things that you just don't want to throw those in the trash bin.
Right. So
Right.
we're fortunate there.
Right. It's great that we have those services around here. Let's talk a little bit about shredding documents. I know people get a little maybe overly concerned about shredding their documents. I don't know how many people are doing the dumpster dives, but it's a real concern, right, for that. So what do we do in terms of documents? What services are available there?
Sure. Again, we go to the city for this service. Free document shredding services are available at the Laguna Woods City Hall. You may schedule your appointment by visiting the city website and clicking on the blue Arrange Document Shredding icon, or calling City Hall at 949-639-0500.
And when people go down there, they need to make sure they bring their ID, right? Because it's for residents that are paying for these services already. Right?
That is correct, and you're limited to the equivalent of 3 13-gallon kitchen trash bags full of documents for each appointment.
Wow, I hope I don't have that many documents in my life, but it's it happens, and they build up after a while, old tax returns and things like that, I suppose. Also, garden clippings. This is the time where kind of everybody's pruning back and cutting back and getting ready for spring, and the clippings can kind of pile up. What are some of the services that people need to be aware of there?
Sure. Our landscaping services department offers a weekly gardens clipping pickup that takes place on Fridays. So we ask that you place your clippings close to the curb in a single pile. You call or email resident services by noon on Thursday for pickup the following Friday morning. And if requests are received after noon on Thursday, they'll be picked up as quickly as possible, but they may not be on that Friday schedule.
May not, so it might have to wait a week or so like that, but it'll get picked up. Hopefully
Yes.
it isn't too big a deal, right?
Correct.
So where do we go how do we know where to go and find all of these services? And
Sure.
Is there a one-stop shop we can go to?
There is. We have something that's called Know What Goes Where, and you can see this on the city's website on the address listed before you. It's cityoflagunawoods.org/LWV Waste Services, and cityoflagunawoods.org/LWV Organics. And this provides information on organic waste recycling, the items that can and cannot be placed in recycling containers, and more.
Now, how close do you guys work with the city in terms of like helping coordinate these things and getting these backslashes kind of things in there just for Laguna Woods residents?
We work very closely because, again, the city manages the contract with CR&R, so our general services department is in regular contact.
Okay, terrific. It sounds like a great connection there.
Yes.
Let's keep the good work going. January and November, village residents diverted almost 135 tons of organic material from landfills. That's a really big number. That's great that it's not going to the landfills.
That's huge, and we want to mention that CR&R has a new state-of-the-art anaerobic digester facility in Paris
That's an easy thing to say.
I know. And so the village's food and yard waste and compostable materials are made into renewable natural gas and organic fertilizer.
Okay, wow, that's terrific. And we have a picture of that on the next slide, I think, of there out in Paris, California, the anaerobic digestion facility, I guess.
Yes.
And it turns into organic material. They're making natural gas out of it. That's kind of a great way for everybody to be able to recycle and reuse those organics that we're producing here, right?
Absolutely, and then they use that to fuel their fleet of refuse vehicles, which is kind of neat.
That's great. So goes right into the trucks and all the pickups that we're using, and it just keeps that kind of circle going.
Right.
Raw materials to manufacturers and what you guys do in terms of you have these new low-profile bin update we want to talk about.
Yes, so when the new bins were installed, when they took over the contract, CR&R, they were a little bit higher than the previous company's bins.
Okay.
So they've been working with the village very collaboratively to reduce the height of those bins where it's problematic.
And what was the challenge there? So folks just couldn't get their...
It's just tough to get everything up and over, so to speak. They're doing this out of their partnership with us. It's not required in the contract. So if anyone needs a low-profile bin in their area, we ask that you report it to CR&R.
Okay.
They're exchanging about 8 per month, again, out of their own good volition. And right now, about 42% of the bins in the community have been exchanged.
So if it hasn't been done yet, it's coming. And if you want to check in and make that request to make sure it's coming, there's the way to do that on
Yes,
the
please.
phone number and the website there. Again, it's not one of those things that's required, so people should be nice when you make that
patient.
call.
Yeah. And be patient.
And be patient. It
Yes.
is coming, but we're getting it back to the way it was. Social services in this community are very important. When people maybe first retire, they're active, they're on the go, and those kinds of things. And then as an aging community goes, that can slow down, and sometimes there's a need for social services. Can you kind of highlight some of the things that we provide here?
Certainly, and especially coming out of the holiday season, January
Right.
is always a busy month. Social services is available to anyone by calling 949-597-4267. This is a completely confidential service, or you can stop in the community center in the first floor office to social services. They offer an array of confidential services, including comprehensive in-home assessments, resources and referrals connecting residents to community programs and services such as caregiver services, meal delivery, mental health programs. They offer support groups, including bereavement, healthy aging, anxiety, and mindfulness. They also help with short and long-term care planning, offer short-term counseling services, and referrals to longer-term counseling services as needed.
I think sometimes that's one of maybe the hardest things for people to do is to reach out, right? And say,
Yes.
and now that if they know there's a place that actually is just waiting for that call or waiting for that stop, and that can make it easier. to say, maybe I need an assessment or I need some help here. I'm not as active, I'm not as mobile as I used to be.
Right, and those services are immediately accessible, which is great, and again,
Right.
free of charge.
Yeah, terrific. It's an amazing service that they provide, and it's make sure people are taking advantage of that. Confidential social services are also are offered in terms of short-term and long-term care planning, right? And so when people make that jump, they say, okay, I might need some extra help here. There's a space for them to go to, right?
Correct. And then there are, again, counseling services, social isolation prevention, which we partner with the Council on Aging.
Yeah, and that's a real challenge too, because people sometimes when they lose loved ones or lose a spouse especially, they feel so isolated, and these services are really something I think that can really help in terms of the long-term mental health and well-being of the residents here in the community.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about falls. One of the things that can take someone from an active senior to a mobility challenge senior is a fall, breaking a hip, and suddenly they're just not the person they were before. So
Right.
we have a mobility and stability class coming up.
Sure. We have a new partnership among Recreation and Special Events Foundation of Laguna Woods Village and Memorial Care to offer mobility and stability classes, as you mentioned. These are taking place February 7th, 14th, and 21st from 2:30 to 3:30 in Clubhouse 2. We ask that everyone please register at the Clubhouse 2 office or the Recreation office, and participants must attend all 3 classes.
No, we actually, when I was working at Chapman University years ago, there was a study about mobility, and that was one of the things that they talked about was that the falls are probably one of the biggest things that can be a determiner of whether someone is going to be needing support and services for the rest of their retirement or the rest of their life or not. So it's a really great class, and I'm really glad to hear we were offering that over here at the Village, so make sure we take advantage of that. If you're starting to feel a little wobbly in life, it's time to go over and make sure that maybe there's some things you can do to prevent that. And that's one of the clubhouses. And speaking of clubhouses, Clubhouse 1,
Yes.
major renovation coming there. And I can't believe it hasn't been updated since major update since it was built back in the 60s.
That is correct, and this project was recently approved by the GRF Board of Directors. Again, it's the first substantial rehabilitation of Clubhouse 1 since 1964. Clubhouse 1 is a 41,000 square foot community landmark, and it hosts a wide array of recreation and social activities.
It is the one, so it's about time to get a little facelift over there. So it's
Yeah.
going to take some time, so people need to be a little patient in terms of being able to use and access everything for a little while.
That is correct.
Yeah.
On the screen before you, if we flip to the next slide,
Yeah, the next
is the
page
scope
here
of
takes a little bit about that.
is the scope of work. It includes updates to the interior flooring, wall coverings, electrical, lighting fixtures, and this is taking place within most of the clubhouse buildings. The project also includes window and door replacement and painting of the exterior
Right.
stucco.
This is going to be a mind our dust sign for a little while, it sounds like. But it sounds like it's going to be amazing when it comes out. It's going to really be freshened up, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so in terms of the schedule, the clubhouse is going to be closed for 6 months beginning in March 2024, so just around the corner. This access restriction is expected to save about $100,000 in costs and limit exposures to issues such as risk navigating a construction zone,
Yes.
exposure to construction noise and dust, constant accessibility changes to the facility, electrical and water disruptions, and limited parking while contractors stage equipment.
Right, and
so
of course,
forth.
all the activities that happen in there are a lot of people working in there, and people are going to there for services and activities. How are those all being relocated, and how's that
So
happening?
recreation and special events are taking all possible measures to relocate those events. Over the next several weeks, staff is adjusting scheduling and contacting all the impacted users. The department really requests cooperation, please, though, and waiting to be contacted because they're working through their process, and if they're interrupted, that just slows things down. The Village Library and the Laguna Woods History Center will remain open at all times during that construction, with parking behind the library building. And if anyone's interested in the scope of work, it's available for viewing in the Clubhouse 1 office.
Okay, well, there we go. Good information there. Now, I came into the building the other day, and I thought maybe we'd been robbed. All the artwork was off the walls. There's a great art heist going on, but no, that's not what happened, right? Laguna Wood Art Association is actually involved in all this.
Yes, so every year there's a new art show, and they loan us their beautiful artwork for our walls, and it's just the transition period. The new pieces will be installed by the end of the month. And this is just a great project and a great collaboration because it brings such joy to everyone who works or comes to the community center building.
Yeah, the art is beautiful. I really like seeing it, and I miss it, so I can't wait for the next hangings that are going to go on as well.
Yes.
So that should be fun. All right, well, gosh, that's it. Let's stop there.
Sounds good.
It's been a lot of stuff. Siobhan Foster, CEO of Village Management Services. Thank you so much for joining us, and
Thank you
Happy
very
New
much.
Year.
You too. Thank you.
You're watching This Day. We'll be right back.